host, Kevin, and this week we'll be discussing the 1995 action classic, Sudden Death, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, Powers Booth, a few other people you may or may not recognize. For those of you joining us for the first time, the B-Movie Club, it's like a book club, only sans books. No books to be seen anywhere, without a lot of that pesky book learning, if you know what I mean. What I do is each week I post online what movie we'll be discussing. You can send me your questions, comments, favorite scenes, favorite quotes, and I'll talk about it on the show. You can reach me on our Facebook page, Original B-Movie Club. You can also reach me through Twitter at KD9575. And don't forget to visit our YouTube page, KD9575. Make sure you like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube page. It's totally free. It only costs you about 15 minutes a week, give or take. Sometimes only about 8 minutes watching the video. I always tell people, hey, treat it like a podcast. Get your mobile device, put in your headphones, and then you can operate heavy machinery, you can mow the lawn, you can do the laundry, perform brain surgery, whatever you want to do, and you'll hear my dulcet tones getting you ready for whatever it is you're doing. Now, granted, if you're doing brain surgery, please focus on the brain a little bit, you know. Give me 20% of your brain, okay? The rest should be focused on the job at hand. Anyway, make sure you tell your friends, okay? Spread the word. The more the merrier. Sudden Death. In this, we've got Jean-Claude Van Damme. He was a firefighter, but in the opening scenes, he was unable to save a child from a burning building. So evidently, he was very disturbed by it. Like, I guess he kind of had to quit the force. I don't know what the story is. He's now kind of a fire marshal, and he's divorced. I don't know if he was divorced because he couldn't handle, the fire accident, or if they drifted apart. It happens from time to time. I don't know. He's divorced now. And he shows up. It's his son's birthday. And he has 2 tickets to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals for all you hockey fans out there. That's, their equivalent of the championship or the Super Bowl, whatever. The Pittsburgh Penguins are playing the Chicago Blackhawks. And this takes place in Pittsburgh, so they're big Penguins fans. So he swoops up his son and his daughter, takes them to the arena to watch the game while he's doing his fire marshal duties. He's checking the light bulbs aren't burned out. Fire marshals do a lot of important things, but for some reason they focus on him changing light bulbs. I don't know. Anyway, unbeknownst to him, there's a plot on the loose, kind of an extortion deal here. The Vice President of the United States is visiting the game. He'll be up in the owner's box along with the mayor of Pittsburgh, the owners of the team, and other luminaries. These terrorist, burglar, robber types bust in, take over the box, led by Powers Booth, who plays a former Treasury agent, so he knows all the secrets. And it's basically, if I don't get several $1 billion I need 1/3 of the money by the end of the first period, or I'm going to kill somebody in this room. The second third by the end of the second period, or I'll kill somebody else. And the full amount by the end of the third period, or I'm going to blow up the arena and kill everybody in it. For those of you guys who don't follow hockey, most sports have 4 periods, 4 quarters if you will. For some reason, hockey just has 3 periods. Don't ask me. Ask Lord Stanley, okay? The guy with the cup. Anyway, so Jean-Claude is going around. He's doing his thing. When they discover that the terrorists have captured the vice president and the other luminaries, the Secret Service aren't able to get in because, the terrorists have got them figured out at every stop. They try to rush in, they smoke them out, they kill those agents, they're blowing up cars in the parking lot. They're totally bamboozled, so we can't get help. Luckily, what like the head Secret Service guy manages to sneak in. His name is Hallmark. And he's going to figure out. Meanwhile, he's been on the phone with Jean-Claude Van Damme in kind of a die-hard thing. He's figured out that the terrorists are up there doing their thing because for some reason his daughter went to the bathroom and one of the terrorists was dressed up like Icy, the Penguins mascot. Why she was dressed up as the Penguins mascot, I don't know. It brought out an interesting fight scene between Jean-Claude Van Damme, again, fire marshal from Pittsburgh, who has a Belgian accent, okay? And he knows kickboxing. Why? They try to explain his accent by saying he's like from Canada, okay? In America, Canada, Belgian, French, Haitian, Cajun, whatever, it all sounds, they speak French. Sounds the same to us. So Jean-Claude Van Damme could fit any of these things for all we know. So there we have it. So they're fighting, again, the female mascot wearing full penguin outfit. They're fighting in the kitchen. He's kicking, they're swinging cleavers and things. So he finds out what's going on. And he's talking to Hallmark, the Secret Service agent, and he's just like, if you won't go in, if you won't do something, if you won't pay them, then tell me and I'll get my daughter back. That's my horrible Jean-Claude Van Damme impression. I don't know why I had to put my hand up here to do that. Anyway. So they meet up, but there's a spoiler, there's a secret, there's a twist. I don't want to give it all away, but there's stuff going on here. So watch out, watch the movie. Meanwhile, in spite of all the explosions and gunfire and fights going on, you know, the 20,000 people in the arena watching the Stanley Cup are totally oblivious. They don't know. Literally rocket launchers going off. Explosions. They're oblivious. I don't know. They pump in a lot of music. I don't know what the story is. Again, this is on national TV. You know, are there nobody driving by the the arena seeing the explosions going, maybe I'll call the news station and find out what's going on? No. No one knows anything. The announcers don't know anything. So he's fighting the terrorists. No time does Jean-Claude use a gun in this because he's a fire marshal. And that would be ridiculous. You know, whereas the martial arts, that's par for the course. You didn't know that. They train their fire marshals in kickboxing. There you have it. I really enjoyed this movie, in spite of those ridiculous things I mentioned. I thought it was great. The terrorists are oftentimes in action movies. The bad guys are kind of like these big buff, you know, henchmen types. But other times they look like they just pick dudes in off the street. Some of these guys literally look like homeless people. They paid like, here's a bowl of soup. Would you like to be in our movie? I can't explain it. They're looking a little rough around the edges. Not particularly young, not particularly good looking, just kind of grizzled. Whatever floats your boat. This movie actually didn't do that well in the box office. It came out like, started like 8th that week. Didn't do very well. It made a little bit more money overseas. Made a little more from video sales and rentals and things like that. Didn't do well. This is one of my favorite Jean-Claude movies. This one, Time Cop is another one, and Hard Target. Granted, they're not Shakespeare. No one's nominating these things for Academy Awards. But for what they are, they're fun. After this movie, Jean-Claude's career kind of took a downward spiral. I think people were realizing that he wasn't packing the theaters the way they thought. Powers Booth, who plays the villain, main villain, you might recognize him. He was in Tombstone. He was in Southern Comfort, Extreme Prejudice, a lot of those kind of movies. In a bizarre cameo, Mrs. Roper from Three's Company, Audra Lindley, she has a very small role. She's the wife of the chef who works in the kitchen that's connected to the owner's box. Okay? She plays a very important role, but she's on screen for about 2 minutes. And you're looking like, is that Mrs. Roper? Is Mr. Furley going to come walking in? Where's Larry Dallas when you need him? Anyway, good times had by all. What else can I tell you? Now, I told you this takes place in the hockey arena during the Stanley Cup. It was actually filmed during the lockout going on in 94 and 95 during the hockey season, so it was easy to do it. They managed to get a few real-life hockey players out there, including who was a big star for the Penguins at the time, Luc Robitaille, who went on to be a big star with the LA Kings, which ironically the story was originally going to concern the LA Kings. It wasn't supposed to be the Penguins until much later. They used the actual announcers for the Penguins in this movie. So if you're a big Penguins fan, you'll recognize them. I'm not a big hockey fan. See, I'm not a big hockey fan, but I can still follow because it's not overly dependent on you knowing anything about hockey. At one point, Jean-Claude is avoiding the henchman and dresses up as the goalie for the Penguins and goes out on the ice. I seems strange, you might say, and it is a little strange. What else can I tell you? Originally, this movie was supposed to be a comedy. And the only scene that they kept was the hero fighting the mascot. Okay? But strange enough, it's just as funny as it would have been otherwise. So there you go. It has that going for it. The crowds for the movie. They didn't have enough money to afford extras to fill a 20,000-seat arena, so if you look closely, you can see a lot of cardboard cutouts. Oh, yeah. And that's what I call high quality. This is before computer-generated graphics. Now they use computers. Back then they use cardboard cutouts. So there you have it. This movie currently holds a 52% kind of fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, but most people, if you talk to them, like I said before, consider this one of the most popular of Jean-Claude's movies. I mean, you got Bloodsport, you got Kickboxer, Cyborg, Death Warrant. There's a lot of Lionheart, a lot of movies where he's like in a tournament of some sort. This is when he started to branch out and was like, well, now I'm a police officer, or I'm fighting the mob, or I'm doing something like that. So for a few years there, Jean-Claude was a very marketable hero in these movies. Granted, he was in, more recently, Expendables 2, looking kind of freaky. I don't know if it was plastic surgery or what was going on, but he should have been wearing a mask like the Phantom. Anyway, it is still streaming instantly on Netflix, so rush out and check it out if you haven't seen it yet. Again, you can send me your questions, comments, favorite quotes, favorite scenes. I'd love to hear your reaction to it. Next week, I'm going to go back to the horror genre. This is actually a horror comedy from the mid-90s, Tales from the Crypt, Bordello of Blood. I did the original Tales from the Crypt movie, Demon Knight, several months back. This was the sequel. We'll talk more about that. It stars Dennis Miller, Corey Feldman. If Corey Feldman's in it, you can't beat that. Angie Everhart, if you remember her, she was in this. It is streaming instantly on Netflix, so rush out, check it out, and send me your favorite scenes and all that good stuff. Remember, you can subscribe on our YouTube page, KD9575, and you can like our Facebook page, Original B-Movie Club, and please tweet me at KD9575. As you know, I end every episode with a totally out of context quote, and here it is. I see they cared enough to send their very best. Thank you for joining us. It's always nice to have you here. Tell a friend. Next week, we'll be doing Bordello of Blood, Tales from the Crypt. Be well.